Okay. Alright, I think is that? Yeah, that's about right. Bit of an eyebrow here, something like that. And of course we'll have our, what is it called, the pupil. And this probably this eye actually closes a little bit more than that. Probably around there. And we've got, like, there's usually a little bit of a shadow in here, like a little bump. He's gonna have, you know what, where's my eraser? Well, that's a real good question. Where is it? There it is. Let's lower this. To the point where it's almost right above his eye. He's an older guy, so his eyes are going to be sagging a little bit. Not mine, though. No. I still have lovely eyes. Okay. Probably like right about there. Get those little hairs right there. And then that way this eyebrow is actually almost in parallel, not quite, but that's fine. Excuse me. Yeah, that's pretty good. And then the first wrinkle sort of starts above here. You'll wind up seeing it as the first wrinkle that goes above the brow there. And then see a slight wrinkle there. Goes up a little bit. You can see the curvature of this forehead that way. And got our nose. Let's do the other eye first, actually. So, because we're looking at it slightly from, I guess, his left, and what you'll see actually is that this is a little bit too far away. You'll have a little bit of a, like I said, the eyes are sort of sag in his older age. So this is kind of where the temple is right there. But because we're off to the left, we don't see the whole thing. And let's say that's the cheekbone there, and that's probably pretty good. We'll fix it later. And because we're off to the right, this eye is going to at least appear to be slightly further away from the nose. But that's because we've got a bunch of space here that we're looking at. So we don't see this side of the nose. except for perhaps a little bit. I would guess he's probably got some bags under those eyes. Everything winds up looking a little bit better once it's inked. Like so. I'm not used to drawing without moving the paper around, but because the camera is right here, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this. I kind of want to keep it pretty much in the right spot. So this eye, you'll sort of see that there's, because there's a bag here, you can start to see a little bit of a bag on this eye over here. Relatively symmetrical. Nobody's ever perfectly symmetrical. That's a mistake that a lot of people make, is they try to make everything symmetrical, and then it just looks so unreal, even. Yeah. He's gonna have little hairs there. What I have found with the eyebrows of older men is they go one of two ways. They either expand outward and they get way bigger, or they just sort of dissipate and start to disappear. Although maybe those people that where the eyebrows start to disappear are, I don't know, maybe they're just trimming them or something, because my eyebrows are going a little bit nuts. And I guess I'm probably only aware of mine. That's alright. So we're going to have some shadow on this side of the nose. Gives the nose a sense of space. So my eye is probably going to be about, I want to say about here is where it goes down, because it's going to sag a little bit too, like this one does. You're going to see a little bit more of that sag and that wrinkle. And yeah, I guess I'm making him with somewhat narrow eyes. Can never forget this. I don't even know what this is called. This little fold here. So he's so old that his eyes sag so much that you almost don't even see the eyelid, because the eye has sagged over it. So like if there is an eyelid, it's very much in shadow on both sides, right? So like the eyelid's sort of here. You can sort of see that. But then it goes down like that. And you also have something of a bag on both sides of the eye. I don't know how defined you need to make it, really. Could probably be pretty minimal even. But maybe put that there, I think. That looks alright. Should be maybe another line up here, right? Okay. So I sort of decided my hairline is up here. He's not balding, he's just somewhat diminished, that hairline. Or maybe it was always that way, who knows. We'll say what we want. Anyway, let's get a sense of where the nose goes. Probably right about there. See, what you want to do... Do I have a ruler? Here we go. You don't need to measure it, really, but you do kind of want to make almost a triangle here, right? You can eyeball it. Not from the bottom of the nose, from the tip of the nose. So the tip of the nose is probably about here. From the center, actually not even from the center of the eye, to the slight right and left of the center of the eyes. And this is where it's going to be. It's not a perfect triangle because we're seeing it from the side. Don't really need that. I always eyeball it. But if you don't try to make that triangle, what a lot of people wind up doing is they'll make this nose too long, like even just ever so slightly too long, and then it tends to elongate the face as well, and then it looks all effed up. That's not helping anybody. Okay, but this is, let me get rid of that. This is the underside of my nose here. And then the tip of the nose is going to be right about here. And he's got some nostrils as well there. So you get a little bit more nostril on this side because we're looking at it from an angle, a slight angle. Delicious. So here's my underside of the nose right there. Sort of right there. And then let's see. A lot of this is going to wind up being in shadow, but that's okay. We're gonna want to build this up properly anyway. So this is kind of where the nose should be. All right. Again, this doesn't need to be perfectly symmetrical or anything. Nobody is. If it's symmetrical, it doesn't really look right. It looks off. Symmetry for the most part is a good thing, but when symmetry is too perfect, it gets, what is that they call it? The uncanny valley, even in real people. So like if you're drawing a real person and you make them too symmetrical, it's gonna look weird. Or if not weird, it'll look cartoonish. Which, you know, there's nothing wrong with cartoonish. That's fine and dandy, so long as that is what your intention is. So here we got we've got a little bit of shadow here. Shadow is always a fun thing to play with. So he's going to have, in addition to like these crow's feet, that's what they call them, right? Crow's feet. Going to have the saggy eyes and then just slight crow's feet here. But then at the same time, because the forehead is wrinkling up, you've got maybe a wrinkle coming down from there. Yeah, I gotta work on the forehead wrinkles, I guess. The higher up they go, that's not accurate. What I was about to say is, the higher up you go, the more they lessen, but that's not really true. It's the further off to the side they go, they lessen. So, you can still have like a deep wrinkle here, because when somebody furrows their brow, it wrinkles up mostly in the middle, and then the further around the skull cap, I would call it, the further around the skull cap you go, it's I wouldn't really say it stretches the skin, but the skin is more taut on the sides, and so it wrinkles up in the middle, and that's where the wrinkles get more pronounced. And I think you can say that of most people. I think that's a fair thing to say. You know, people that don't have wrinkles obviously don't really count toward that. So I don't want to go too crazy with these wrinkles, but like you've got these ones here, right? And then he's got maybe, the pencil that I'm using is very light, but this is, what is this? A 3H? Yes, it's a 3H. I've got lots of them. Get in there. It's very light, but once it inks, it'll be nice and dark. So, I'm going to leave the forehead wrinkles for a bit. Let's get back to the eyes, because the eyes really are everything. You always have to have, if you don't have some kind of shine in the eyes, then it looks like they're just black eyes. Which, that also sort of dehumanizes your drawing. If that's your intention, that's fine. If you want to, draw a monster or something, giving him completely black eyes without any kind of shine could be sort of interesting, I guess. Yeah. I think that's about the right spot there. So there's a little bit of shine there, and even if his eyes are super dark, there's still going to be a difference between the black part of the eye and, say, the dark brown part of the eye. My eyes are very brown, but there's still a difference between this blackness and this brown. And actually, I might have made the black part a little bit big, but I think that doesn't really matter so much. And you generally, depending on where you think your light source is coming from, the shine in the two eyes is generally going to more or less match, unless there is perhaps a light off to the side, or perhaps multiple light sources. Now, the thing that a lot of people tend to forget, and I'll do this afterward, is that men do have eyelashes. We always think that, I don't really want to say we, but lots of people tend to forget that there's a little bit of, even for thin eyelashes, there's a little bit of space between the eye and the lash there. And even if it's tiny eyelashes, there's still something. Unless you've got, I guess, alopecia or something. So he's going to have some eyelashes here. What you will see on some people is that the eyelash sort of starts here and there's not really any hair over here. It happens. People can vary, obviously. And of course there is actually an eyelid under this saggy eye here, so there actually is some hair coming out there as well. And I should have done that over here too. A little bit there, little bits of, well, let's make this more pronounced right there. Little bits of eyelash right here. One thing I'm not sure of is eyelashes on older people. I wonder if those thin out. Kind of makes sense that they would, but not necessarily. Okay, so still working on this shadow for the nose, I guess. And then, because this is not going to be a perfectly lovely little nose, there's always going to be ridges, right? So like this has a ridge to it here, and then it sort of goes out a little bit. I'm erasing that, but I'm just sort of making a point. Let's finish this eye. So I'm going to put a little bit of a shine right there. I might even shrink that a little bit later. Okay. Just like that. That looks a little bit normal-ish. Yeah, I gotta look at it like that. Because I'm looking at, this is flat on the table, and I can't very well hover over it, or I'll be underneath this camera here. So when you are drawing or painting or something, it is best to have it at sort of an angle so that it's more facing you, but with this whole setup, that makes it more difficult. Let me just put it right back in a normal spot there. Okay, so what was I saying? Right, so in order to create sort of a ridge on this nose without just straight up drawing a line on it, you're going to want to use some shadow afterward, and that's what we'll do later. So I'm just going to create some shadow with the edge of my pencil here. We'll fill that shit in later. And also this creates a little bit more of a secondary bag under his eye. Sort of did that over here, but not as well. It's really working here and not so much there. It doesn't really matter. One thing you have to learn to do is let some shit go. Let it be imperfect, and then as you're building it, it will become perfect. Oddly enough, yeah. When it's when you're starting out, if you're trying to make it perfect to begin with, it'll probably take you 10 times as long, and that's really quite painful when you ultimately realize that you can do it a better way, and you turn out with not necessarily the same result, but often a better result when you do it quicker. It doesn't have to look, how can I put this? It doesn't need to look photorealistic. What we're doing is we're working with lines. So really the line work is what's important. Photorealism, I don't know how many of you have seen some of those hyper-realistic drawings. Like, yes, they're very impressive. They're very impressive, unquestionably. They're just the amount of patience that has to take is outstanding. That's great. However, unless there's also some measure of surrealistic portrayal of the person or object that's being drawn in that hyper-realistic fashion, unless you're doing that, it might as well be a photograph. Your style comes in, I don't want to say your imperfections, but Your style comes in many ways, your line work. I don't know how interesting that sounds. Probably not. And then, so this is like the tip. That's the tip of his nose there, really. So we're going to want to put some shadow in here afterward, right? I'll do that later. I want to get the deep, dark lines in here first. So like, this will all be black around that shine. There we go. And there's probably also a little bit of shadow that's created by this sagging eyelid. I really enjoy drawing older people more. There's just so many more lines in their face, so many interesting shadows that get created. So this will also be not white, so this will be like, I'm not coloring this, so this is going to be like, see, you also want to alternate which direction you're doing lines in, depending on what part of the face you're drawing. You want your lines to contrast each other. You don't ever want to do like this here and then right next to it that there. That's boring as shit. And it doesn't create any kind of form at all either. So we're going to have the shadow coming down most of the center of the face, as though he's either backlit or lit from both sides. That's sort of interesting. And so that way I sort of am justifying these lines that I put on the nose. And we'll fill that stuff in with more interesting lines later. See, this wrinkle here on the brow probably goes up a little bit higher than that. Maybe not a lot higher. And then this one will not necessarily match it, but it'll be something similar there. Okay. Put some more wrinkles over here. Get some wrinkles up top. Maybe something off to the side there a little bit. That might be a little too much. Just a little thing. And then of course our hairline is up here. So he's going to have... I don't really know what to do with his hair. I haven't figured that out yet. Excuse me. Let's do the mouth, I think. So the mouth can vary from person to person. It depends on what their lips look like. So this guy, he's going to have, you look at these lines under his eyes, you look at the wrinkles on his forehead, he's going to have these lines on his, between the nose, or from the nose down to the mouth there. I don't know how big, like it doesn't have to be enormous, but there's certainly something there. And then generally people will have a little bit of a lip here, and a dip even, not necessarily a massive dip. And you're going to have the lips underneath that. So this is the bottom of the lip. The upper part of the lip is probably about there. And a lot of people will say, oh, your lips should go to the inside of the eye. That's probably fair. For the most part. It's not always the case. There's 7 billion of us. So, people will vary. You're going to have some people with some weird ass fucking beep beep. Sorry, I didn't mean to curse there. You're going to have some people with some weird faces, man. Some stuff that really is just way out there. So let's say that's the upper lip. And of course, it's met with the bottom lip in this case. Because he's got sort of a stern, not necessarily stern, but a serious look on his face. He's not going to have his mouth wide open like that. That would be really weird. Probably about there. You got to remember, I'm looking at it slightly from this side, so this side should not be quite as long. It's okay to use some straight lines once in a while to figure out the form, and then you can always soften that later. Does he have a larger upper? No, does he have a larger lower lip? Lots of people do. I certainly do. But this guy, I think it's probably just only slightly larger. And by larger, I mean slightly thicker at the bottom here. And I might change that afterward. But we are still sort of getting the shape of the face here, aren't we? Oops. Don't like that. And then, of course, he's an older guy, so we're going to might have some jowls here a little bit. Under the lip, you're going to have the chin down here. Got to figure that's probably about right there. I don't know if I'll do a video every time I draw one of these, though. Maybe I might decide to do like a time-lapse type of thing, where it just takes a picture every 30 seconds or so. That might be more interesting. I don't know if me sitting here talking about it every time is going to be all that interesting. So he's going to have some slight jowls there, which is not that unusual as you get older. How does that look from here? See, okay, here's the problem. I've been looking at it from this angle and not from here, and so this is all screwed up. Let's see, right, so that's why you use a light pencil, really. There's nothing wrong with erasing it if it's really screwed up. Let me just sort of do it like this. This part was fine. And then I was drawing it just a little bit too off, just slightly too off because of the angle. I'm going to try to keep it under the camera here, though. And then your mouth will go here, buddy. Maybe I'll get like a thing to keep this elevated. I might do that. But I don't usually mess it up too much at the angle. I've done it before, so it's not like it's a big problem. And then your lip is right about there. That's fine. And you want to give it a slight indentation there. Because there, you see that there's a curve over here. Because we're looking at it from this side, the curvature of it is going to be slightly shorter, and so it's going to look like a dent almost. A little bit of a dent. That might not even be big enough, actually. I'll leave it for now. And then, of course, you've got that sort of an empty space under your lip. And then I'm going to put his chin right about here. So it's again not at the right angle for me. And then I think probably that's pretty good there. And you got to figure that there's a little bit of a jowl over here too, although it's less visible. And his chin's probably right about... I don't want to make him too... I don't want to make the chin too small, so he looks like a big old wimp. Let's fix that. And you gotta have it... Yeah, let's do this. Even if it looks a little bit too wide, that's okay. Just so it doesn't look too narrow. It's not a bad spot for it. And then of course you've got some jowls up over here. How's that look? That's better. This is all kind of screwy over here. So what I want to do is let's form these cheekbones now. So what you got to realize is that, did I make that nose too long? No, it's good. That's fine. You want to make this indentation right slightly below the nose. That's often where your cheekbone is going to start. And so his cheekbone probably starts about there. And I can get rid of some of that dent. That's a bit much. I think what I did is I made the forehead too big. Yeah, I think so. So this can just go in. And instead of the forehead going out, it's just going to go mostly up. Which is what foreheads do. And then, see, this is not the jaw here. This is just the jowls. The jaw is going to be a little bit further back than that. And then this cheekbone will sort of merge into it. I don't know if I got that at the right spot, but that's pretty good. That's pretty good. We'll work on the ears afterward, I think. Let's get a bit of a neck in there. He's going to have a shirt on, I think. These older guys have, I don't want to call it a turkey neck, but there might be some slight wrinkle in that neck there. Am I keeping that on camera? There we go. And get these pencil shavings off there. So now that I've sort of narrowed the forehead over here, I know now that this is actually pretty good over here, because it is from this side, so you're going to have more space over here. That's good. That's good. I think maybe a little bit more of a line there on his head, and then maybe the hairline is perhaps something like that. Maybe not as high up. I might lower that a little. Gotta look at it from here. Oh yeah, definitely. I'll do that after. So we're going to create an imaginary line here that we'll erase later. But this is kind of where that other cheekbone is going. Excuse me. And then this jowl actually is a bit much. And then we've got, I think, a line, a little bit of a line here. More of a shadow than a line. So it'd be like that. And it'll sort of fade at about here, but not completely. And then we'll have it pick back up, back into our jowl there. And then my jaw, see the neck goes underneath the jowl, and so the neck actually also builds back into the jaw there. And because we've got this imaginary line here, I can manipulate it. I think it probably goes in a little bit more like that. That's not going to be there later anyway. So my jaw goes up to about here. That's pretty good. There's my neck, feeds into the neck again. Might have some more shadows underneath here. Excuse me. And what I like to do is figure out where these ears are. Let me just put this at an angle here. So my ears on this guy, I'm looking at him from this side, so I'm going to see much more of this ear than I do of this one, if I see any of this one. And again, I'll see more of the side of this head, obviously. Let's do something here. Let's just put in a sense of where we want this hair to be. Perhaps, I don't know what length this hair is, but maybe about there. Whatever his hairline is, I don't know what his haircut looks like. I haven't figured that out yet. And then, so because it's about that long there, it's going to be about the same length over here. And I think it starts, I think I want to say, see, this is not the right exact spot for it, because that's an imaginary line, right? But then the hair can start there, that's fine. It's just that it's not a defined line there. And then the hair is going back somewhat. Just sort of build that up there. Do 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 do. And then of course he's got the shape of the head, and of course our ear is going to be here. I think probably right about there. And we'll have an earlobe. That looks about right. It's more or less the shape of it. Now the other ear. Starting to look like, what's that actor's name? The old dude from Battlestar Galactica. The captain. A little bit like Captain Adama. It's not intentional, actually. It's alright. And then, gotta figure there's gonna be a little bit of a bump there. And maybe you see a little bit of the top of it as well. That's fine. I'm not really worried about smudging this. This pencil is so light that it'll be easily erased if I accidentally smudge it or something. I don't know if it even does smudge now that I think about it. So I never really did pay much attention to these lips though. When you're doing lips like this, it can differ from person to person, but you do want to have, they want to have a texture of some kind. Right? And then of course this area up here is slightly smoother, at least as far as the lighting goes. Might still have something there. And then actually this line here is not really defined by anything but that texture. And, well, color, but I'm not using color here. And there's a shadow between the lips. Right? Like that. More or less. And of course there's going to be a slight shadow underneath. Probably going to be more than just that little spot there. Now you can draw anybody this way. It's a matter of getting their likeness accurate. So there's going to be a bit more shadow under here, I think. A bit more shadow under there. When I do shadow, I like to use the side of the pencil. There's nothing wrong with that. And of course this nose is going to cast a bit of a shadow on its own face, really. But it's not going to be a straight shadow. It's going to be sort of a curved shadow. And then if he's got a dip in his lip there, you're going to have an even deeper shadow. I like deep shadow. So like the darkest part in here is going to be this nostril, right? But then also you've got a slight indentation there, and this is going to be darker than it looks right here. Excuse me. Okay. And of course, really all the neck is going to be probably defined by shadow too. I'm going to put a collar on this guy. Give me just a collar. And that's the inside of the collar here. And there's his neck. That's fine. I swear he looks like somebody else too, though. Not just Adama. I actually failed to put some shadow under this eye, because even though it's sagging, it's going to have a bit of shadow there. because you see there's a bunch over here. Maybe that's good there. Probably have a slightly thicker shadow there as well. And because we've got shadow in the center of the face like this, it stands to reason we'd have some shadow up here. How much remains to be seen. And then I think we can probably get rid of this line. That was just there to define it. So let's just sort of create an ear here. So usually ears will have like a little thing here, and that'll go down. The funny thing about ears is that their construction is largely the same, except they're all somehow different, even just slightly. And then you'll have, usually there's like a little indentation here, right? And it comes back up. And then there's like a curve in here. There's actually usually a thing, don't quite know what to call it right here. Maybe there's a slight bump here and it creates a shadow. Excuse me. But then this area is usually quite dark because it's where you're going into the ear. Not bad. Over here you don't really need to show much because you're really just seeing the ear from almost the front. Although I think I'll show like something like that. That looks pretty good. This line in a realistic drawing would not have, it really wouldn't be much. There wouldn't be much there as far as that line goes. But this is a line drawing, so I like to use lines. And he's got some hair over here. Don't know, guess he's an older guy, he's probably got lighter hair. So don't really need to darken it too much. Start to create some shadow on the front of the face, because then you'll have a little bit of shadow up here as well. You'll have a shadow in here, and then you'll have a shadow coming down. Although, not too much. And then the shadow will sort of align with all these wrinkles. And maybe it'll stop up here because the brow will have a little bit more light on it, and it'll bend in. Right? So, I'll put a few more wrinkles up top here just to create the slightest extra shadow there. And as you go higher, these wrinkles get further apart. And I think that's the last set of wrinkles there. So because these wrinkles are on the forehead, everything on the forehead is going left to right, right to left. So that's kind of how I want this. Is there a bug in here? Little shit, you're dead now. I kind of want to have a darker shadow on the outer edges of this. The light is coming in from both sides, and so he's got a shadow in the center of his face. I'm going to have a little bit more shadow perhaps in here, and up in here, that's fine. Create some shadow here too. Never really did finish these jowls actually. That's alright, we'll do that after. Create some shadow in here, like this. And when this brow, because the brow is usually going to be at a slight angle, actually I want to have this come in a little bit like that. This is just sort of a starter anyway. I'll change that later. So how does that look to me? It looks okay. I'm going to darken some stuff here. But what stuff? Okay, so we're going to have the slightest indentation in your lip there, buddy. And then we're going to have a bit more shadow coming in on the mouth, I think. Starting to look like Cigarette Smoking Man from the X-Files, but a younger version of him. That dude's got to be fucking 90, I think. Maybe he's just in his 80s. And that's not bad. And then I think because we've got the light coming down over the forehead, we'll probably have a little bit coming in. So we got this shadow on the underside of this, right? And then we've got the eyebrow. And then I think honestly, because his eye is sagging here, we've got maybe some, what did I call them? It doesn't matter. The wrinkles on the eyes. My brain is gone. So we get some wrinkles here, right? And then into that, we can work a little bit more shadow on the eye bag, and then onto the cheekbone even, or what is sort of the cheekbone. So like the shadow follows the whole face down. We've got the slightest light there, I think. Breaks up that shadow a little bit. Tired. That's not too bad. So this will probably be a bit darker there, I think. And I might just sort of merge these shadows a little bit into this jowl. That's fine. This all gets inked later, so it doesn't really matter what direction my pencil is going into, because I'm the one who inks it. I'm not making somebody else do it. If I was, that would be a different story. I guess I've been going for about an hour now, according to this video. That seems true. Now, because we've got shadow going down here, like the whites of his eyes are not going to be totally white, so I'm just going to slightly shade them. I almost always do that anyway. Very rarely are both sides of the eye totally white. Alright, so we got that. And then I think maybe a little more shadow in here. A little more shadow there. Going into that sort of pit. Like so, there's a pit right here. Almost a secondary eye bag if the eye bags were that low. Just an extra wrinkle there, really. How's that look? That's pretty good. That's pretty good. A little bit more darkness in there. Darken these eyebrows, because these eyebrows are really going to be, with all the extra shadow around them, they're going to need to be defined pretty well so that it's kind of clear for me later when I go to ink this, because I will forget what's what. Get a bit of shadow in there, get a little bit of more shadow here, I think. Define that, almost that line a little bit more. Maybe get a little bit more of a nostril going here. Yeah, it's not bad. And of course we've got shadow coming in from over here too. It's a little odd for me to do it with my right hand in that direction. So I'm just going to do this. Just give myself a sense of where that shadow ought to be. Yeah, that's pretty good. You don't want because of the wrinkles on the head, you don't want the shadows to be perfectly aligned with each other, because it ruins the shape you've caused. The shape you've created, rather. Caused. Yeah, I guess I sort of caused it, in a way. Just sort of have it come in a little bit of that light shine through on that shadow, and then go out underneath it. That's okay, that's not too bad. And then much like this side, where this light's coming in over here, and maybe it's a little too much light. Might give myself a little bit more shadow there. But much like that, you're going to have a little bit of light coming in over here as well. See that? I'm almost creating another wrinkle here, but that's okay. There's usually extra small wrinkles anyway. Let's just create one right there then. That's another thing you want to do is, again, like I said before, vary the lines. Like these ones are all just going across, so it's almost sort of boring. but I should probably do like some lines like this and others side to side. You'd never want to go straight up and down on a forehead. That's an awful idea, but you get what I mean. And then of course there will be a grayness in the center here, but it's not going to be like anything that you can really define. So I'm not even going to draw it in yet until I get to inking this thing. Good enough. So of course we're going to have shadow in the hair here. And actually this shadow in the hair kind of helps me define where that hair is, because if he's got lighter hair, it's going to be tough in black and white unless you just do an outline. And you can do that. You can do that. I don't know how good it looks though. So this is all just sort of makeshift. Just sort of guessing as I go. And then the other hair should match it as well, really. So if I were to do an outline, it would probably be like some hair up here, but as it goes back, it gets a little bit shorter. You don't want to just draw a straight line like that, but for now, just sort of a guiding line. It's okay. I don't really know how this guy's hair works. He's an older dude, seems to have... Wow, I think I know who this looks like. But nobody would know who he is. Alright. So, yeah, see it in his eyes. So, you know, there's a line here. It seems to have straight hair that sort of pokes up. If I had hair, mine might do that. And then what generally happens is it just sort of, if it's straight hair like that, it just sort of goes down on the sides. It doesn't really do much of anything. So we're going to have a little bit more over here to work with though. I wonder if there's a limit to the amount of time that I can record this video for. Really not sure. I sort of have the general sense of his face. Let's get some shadow in the neck here, because if I've got, I think I want to pull that collar up a little bit. No? Maybe not. Maybe about here, I think. Just to sort of align with this side a little bit more. Again, symmetry is not ideal, actually. Symmetry is a terrible move. Unless you're drawing from life and that person is legitimately super symmetrical. In which case, do what you want. What do I know? This collar, since I'm looking at it from this side, I feel like I'm seeing more of this color over here, and then I'm going to see a little bit less of it over here. That might still be wrong. that's also okay. Just got like a folding under like that, maybe. That's all well and good. Do 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 do. Collars are never perfectly pointy, but I'll just sort of leave that for now. That's fine. Of course, there's going to be some shadow because I've got shadow coming in on the face from both sides. I'm going to have some on the neck as well. I didn't really finish the shadow on this face though, so we do have this shadow here. Although I don't know how accurate that is. Probably like this. Like if we're going to match this line over here, at least a little bit, you know, people are somewhat symmetrical, and I'm not stupid. But then also, that shadow shouldn't go down here, it should go inward on the jowl there. Almost inking it like Tom Palmer would do. I'm not intentionally copying the guy, but he is kind of a genius, so it might not be a bad idea. I recognize that I'm doing quite a bit of penciling for stuff that's just going to get inked over anyway, but I feel like I'm finding the drawing this way. Some people will just do very loose pencils or even no pencils at all, and they'll find their drawing that way. I have done some drawings straight to ink, but I find that it takes a lot longer, for me at least, and it's never quite as perfect as I want it to be. The reason it takes so much longer is because you're drawing in ink, so you're being ever so careful about every single little line. I'm going to put a bit more shadow on the underside of this upper lip here. That all gets inked later, and I'll figure out what kind of lines I want to use for that. Now, under the chin here, I'm going to have some significant shadow, which then sort of fades once you hit the light. There's something kind of wonky about this, though. I don't know. Still on camera there? Alright. I have to draw it like this. So I'm going to have a bit of shadow in here, like not deep shadow here, but this sort of defines that, what do you call it? You might call it a chicken neck or something. Not really. It's not really a chicken neck. Turkey neck, I think. And then the deeper you get into this neck, actually, the more shadow there is down here, right? So I'm going to have, and also, the collar should be casting shadow as well. How much? I don't know. maybe just that much. Just cause this line here. Now, when you're just starting out drawing, people want to, a lot of people anyway, want to do the most exciting things first. And I understand that sentiment. But it's not necessarily the best way to do it. If you're planning on, if you've got a concept for a drawing in your head here, then you might already have an idea as to what this thing looks like before you put it down on paper. And so, yeah, probably in those cases, draw the things that are most defined in your mind for it. I don't know what I'm doing here with this turkey neck. So this shadow on the neck, I think it works better if I bleed it into this cast shadow. But then I did a bunch of cross-hatching there that I didn't even mean to do, really. Alright, here we go. And then we've got more shadow on the other side of the Adam's apple there. And probably this should be a little bit more like that. And there's still going to be some shadow in here too. It's not going to be super light or anything. This will be all dark. And then, actually maybe this collar should go further in. Let's sharpen that. Better. Don't really sharpen my pencil a lot. I think his collar goes into about here actually. And then like that. Maybe like that. Maybe he's got a big collar. That's fine. And of course you've got, under the collar, you've got a bunch of shadow underneath it. So like this will be the upper part of the collar, and then probably have a ton of shadow. Is that on there? No, it's not. Sorry. And then a ton of shadow in here. I'll fill that in later. And then over here, got a shadow almost in between the two sides of the collar. You've got shadow cast. Get shadow cast from this, and then also cast from the other direction a little bit. So then that's all black. How's that look? Pretty good, we're getting there. I think more these eye wrinkles over here, crow's feet. These crow's feet over here should be a little bit more than they are. then also, so even a little bit of a shadow here. That's because you've got light coming from both sides. So you've got a bit of shadow in here. And then you maybe even have some lines coming in that meet up with it. Probably have some shadow under here too. Maybe right about there. Maybe pull myself a little closer so I don't have to move the drawing so much. Did that jaw go up too high, maybe? Maybe that needs to be lower. Yeah, I think so. Or maybe it's too defined, actually. Should just almost melt into that neck. Okay. I like that. Did I get the eyelashes enough? Probably should have. Well, this will all be so black you won't even be able to tell though. Because this will be darkened. And actually under there will be darkened as well. That's pretty good. We'll come back and we'll ink it. I'm going to just stop tape for a bit. Okay, we're back. We're going to ink this thing. I use a couple of different pens. One for thick, one for thin. I'm going to start with the thick. I have a piece of scrap paper. I don't want to get ink anywhere where I don't mean it to be, so if my pen drips, it'll be on here, I would think. That's the hope. Mistakes happen. So, what I want to use this thick is for the things that I know I've definitely defined, like that nose, that ear, the side of the face. That's what we're going to do right now. This part in theory should go a lot faster. I already know what the drawing is. I already know where everything is. I know where all the shadows are meant to be. I might add some stuff, but that really should not take too long. I like these pens quite a bit. Some people use pens like this. These run out of ink, and you can try refilling them, but they're a real pain to fill. So I I get pens, or I have these two pens, and all I have to do is get ink cartridges for them once in a while. The ink seems to last quite a bit of time for me. And actually I don't really need the scrap paper yet. But yeah, the ink seems to last for quite a while before the pen goes dry, so as long as I've got enough cartridges, I'm usually good to go. I'm actually inking the outer part of the face, I think, here, but that'll probably get thickened in some spots later on. Now, what do I want to ink? How about it's probably a good idea to start with the eyes. So for that, I like to start with the thin pen. I'm going to ink around that light. This is that's going to define the humanity in that eye. Somehow that's what it does. Don't know why that is, really. You take away that light in the eye and it looks like a dead, weird thing, like a robot. I like to get the eyes done first, usually. Even though a lot of people might say you should ink from left to right, I don't have any specific rules about that. So long as you're defining how everything goes, it really shouldn't matter what order you do anything in, really. Unless you're just trying to avoid smudging ink, which I do understand that. When that happens, oh my god. It's a damn tragedy. You can recover from it sometimes. It's already going dry or something. A little bit weird. You can recover from it. If nothing else, if you wanted to, you could... Oops. That's my head getting in the way. If you wanted to, you could digitally remove the mistakes that you make, like the smudged ink, that kind of thing. That's painful, though, because when the original art is ruined, oh, your heart just sinks. See, I'm already sort of defining these eyes pretty well. The darkening of it, the shadows really do make or break it. So you can pencil it and try to make it as good as you want, but until there's just some solid black in there, it's not going to have quite the same character. Let's fill in the deep dark black of these eyes. I might do the rest with the thick pen. A thicker line can really be interesting. maybe not. We'll see. Just sort of fill that in. What I sometimes do is if I'm going to have like a huge amount of black in something, I leave the pens and then I go to my brush here and I dip it in some ink and I just do it that way. But I like to use the pens a bit more though. The pens are ideal for me. Let's see. Let's do these nostrils. And then just do the slightest line under that nose there. That's the darkest parts of it. There's lots of dark down here too. Sorry, I gotta move it up for you. There's lots of dark down here too, but that's one of the last things I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do the face first. I'll probably go up to the hair second, and then do the collar, that kind of garbage later. Let's see. I think I want the thin pen actually. Yeah, the thin pen allows you to, I don't want to say make mistakes, but it allows you to build something up. So it doesn't need to be perfect. And like if I'm putting in these eyebrows here, right? I can do 10,000 little strokes of this pen and still have room to correct it. But if I use like a super thick line and screw that up, then yeah, that's a problem. I'll probably come back through here with the thick line afterward. How's that look? It's not bad. He's got a sad sack eye though, I'll tell you that. That's okay. By the time this is done, there's going to be so much room for things to work that it's not going to matter. Things like hair. Hair tends to, well really I'm actually drawing this a little bit backward because a lot of eyebrows will grow up like this, and then only once they reach a certain point will the hairs just sort of switch direction. But then again, some people have eyebrows that just grow all in one direction, so that's fine too. If this were a legitimate person, I'd be concerned with it. But since it's all just made up bullshit, it doesn't really matter. I think next time I will try to, next time I'll probably use some photo reference and try to get a real person in here. Let's see, I know that's all meant to be black in there. Let's sort of define this nostril actually, somewhat. Yeah, see, this seems to be drying out somehow. Maybe I need to squeeze out some ink a little bit. There we go. Whoa, that's too much all at once. That's why I use scrap paper. Alright. And then the last thing I want to draw first is the shadow on these lips. Just an ever slight line, really. And we'll come back to that after. That sort of more or less defines the bold characteristics of that face. And everything else is stuff you can play with. So, what I've got here, I might want to start using this scrap paper since I'm now going to be going across here. I'll try to turn it. There we go. So the hair is all going to be sort of unidirectional. The hair is a good spot for the thin pen. Usually. Because you can make, again, you can make 10,000 little lines. I don't like to get too close to the ink until I know that it's got to be dried. I've made that mistake before. Do like 10,000 little lines and still have it not be completely black. And since this guy seems to have probably not dark hair, maybe not white hair, but somewhat lighter hair, like maybe light brown. Since it's like that, you don't want it to be too deep and dark. So like I'll probably put some other lines in here. Just thin lines like that. Thin and fast. Go fast. Try to go all the way across. You can always pick it up later if you don't. That's fine too. What's more difficult is curly hair. Not like super curly hair, but hair that's just slightly curly, because then you have to make it seem very naturally flowing. That can be difficult for somebody that doesn't have any damn hair. Not anymore, really. Alright, so we get sort of that somewhat defined there. Let's come down here to this eye. Let's get these eyelashes in there. These tiny little ones. Tiny little eyelashes. It's easy enough. They're basically just dots, more or less. Stupid mic. Okay, so yeah, let's do this. So there's got to be, see, I already smudged it a little bit and it's already right there. I can't even clean that up. That's my fault, and I think I might have done it up there too. Shit. Whatever. Okay, so let's do these eyes. Doesn't need to be perfect. I like to do little straight lines to create almost a a shaded tone. They just have to be relatively close together. They don't necessarily have to be perfectly straight, but the more uniform they are, the more it reads as a gray tone instead of a bunch of lines. So like the further you are away from it, it looks gray. It just somehow looks gray when it isn't. I've been sort of developing my inking style for, I want to say, a couple of years. I do find that portraiture is very helpful that way. If you can define a face that has all sorts of different planes on it, just with different lines, you can pretty much define anything. So let's go in here. We're going to do some crazy stuff. This is going dry again. It's starting to piss me off, actually. I might have to clean this pen later. Just soak it in some water. There might be something stuck in there. Also, like, a little bit there. That's not going to be white. I also know that because all this is in shadow, even the whites of the eyes are not white. So I want a slightly lighter shade of gray than these eyes are. And I also don't necessarily... Did I smudge it again? No, I don't think I did. I also don't necessarily want to follow the same line direction. Right? So it becomes a matter of deciding what to do here. It's probably okay on the outer part of the eye to use the same line direction. I'm going to put that there. Use like slightly thinner lines there. And then I'm going to switch it up for this side. And I'm even going to do this. Just sort of mess with it a bit. Let's finish both eyes. I keep hitting this. Shit. I don't mean to do that. So let's do the outer part here first. We're going to do that at a bit of an angle. That line didn't work real well. There, that's not bad. And then this side, I think probably like that. Not bad, not bad. Gotta remember, this is all going to be very gray afterward, and all the light's going to be on the outside of it. So, we're going to start with these little lines on his face. Just sort of fill these in. I think I like the idea of these tiny lines. That kind of works. And then that will go down. And they sort of merge into one thing as they get toward the eye. Except this one, which it meets the bag in his eye right there. But even the bag is not like defined, really. Let's see. I want this shadow on the eye to actually go out somewhat like it does up here. So I'm going to switch this up a bit. I'm going to make it at different angles. And we can come in here and we can adjust that later so that it's darker. That's easy enough, because it actually does get darker as I get toward the inner side. So like up over here, all these lines are going to be almost, again, unidirectional right there. Not completely, but to the point where that's probably all you're going to see really is lines going in this direction, right? So when it's done, it's going to look very dark. That's my thought. It's almost dark to the point of it, you could almost just paint it all black. But I don't think I'm quite as good as that yet, to just decide, oh hey, I want to paint all this black and leave this part open. I'm going to draw every little thing first. It's not too bad, but now we need to make this a little bit darker right there, and keep going in, and then up in here it's almost going to go totally black. How's that look? We're getting there. We're getting there. And then we've got shadow up here that's got to sort of match it. Not match it, but the line direction should sort of match it. Just because that's the way the face contours and all that shit. So we've actually got a bunch of shadows up here. We're just going to go a little nutty. Okay. And the lines on the outer part of this, that's probably going to be the darkest spots. And under the eyes. Well, under the brows, I mean. So we're going to play with this. Let's get some lines in here, which are more or less where the original lines were. It doesn't have to be. When you use a super light pencil like that, and you ink over top of it afterward, it, you know, you don't necessarily need to match it exactly. We're getting, don't do that. Mistakes happen. And here's a wrinkle on the forehead, and then we're going to have maybe just the slightest wrinkles over here too, on the side of his head. I kind of like that, yeah. And then that way this shadow can sort of almost leak away from the darkness there. I'm doing this one relatively quickly. Next time I might slow down a bit on the inking. I just don't want to be up all night, mainly. But also, I think you can get a better idea of the way you can do this relatively quickly while still mostly keeping it all together. I'd like to pick this up once in a while and just get a sense of what the whole thing looks like together. If I keep bumping the camera, I don't mean to. It's on sort of like a bendable arm. And here's where I'm going to get a little weird with it. So the further up on the forehead I'm going here, I'm going to slightly change the angle of these lines. Because it's up here where the wrinkles tend to fade away. Just like your dreams. Okay. Now, you might think, oh, Stephen, let's do this side now. No, I think I'm going to go downward, actually. I think I'm going to work on the nose and this side of the face and the mouth. Maybe this stupid camera. Stop moving. This is going to be a long video. I will probably tell people to watch it at like twice the speed or something. Really can't blame them if they want to. I didn't really mean for this to happen. I actually didn't expect that I would be recording the audio. I figured I would just do a time lapse and then maybe put some music over top of it. I might do that as well, but let's switch to a thick line. I might do that as well, but I just wanted to sort of talk it out this first time. I think maybe next time I'll just do a time lapse, depending on how people feel about it, or maybe I'll talk about actually a interesting subject matter. I also have to, I've got a mic, but I can't get it to work with this application at the same time that my mic on my camera works. No, that's not what I mean. I can't get it to work at the same time as the camera while disabling the camera's mic. So I gotta figure that out, and then after that I'll be able to figure out everything else. What kind of pens are these? These are, I just drew on myself. I'm sure I remembered the name of them. Does it say on the silver one? Oh, there it is. A Pilot pen. And I keep hitting the camera. Sorry. Let's do this shadow here. That should be nice and dark. Realism is not the goal. It's ideal, sure, but the goal is to get interesting lines on the paper. A lot of people draw so that like they're doing their damnedest to make everything look hyper realistic. I think I said this earlier. And then it's just see, that's drying out. What the shit? I have lots of cartridges, so it doesn't matter, but it's just frustrating. Especially on the first day of October when I'm going to be doing this all month, probably. Okay, switch up the line here. Certainly you want your drawing to look as, not necessarily real, but as human as possible if you're drawing a person. You don't want to draw something and have somebody look at it and think, what the fuck did you just draw? Like, what is that supposed to be? But also, you know, I mean, again, these people that do these hyper-realistic drawings, I just want to know, like, why not just take a photograph then? If you're going to do that, and like, if it's of such great import to you that everything looks so absolutely perfect, just take a photograph. Because it's one thing to do a painting and make it really amazing. That's slightly different because paint, as well as the canvas, they'll have it's got a texture to it that even though the painting can look really realistic, you know that it's a painting simply because of the brush strokes, because of the texture of the canvas. Whereas some of these hyper-realistic drawings that I see, you don't necessarily know that they're drawings right away. And it's almost pointless. Yeah, I think so. Like, why bother? Why bother doing a drawing at all? Just take a photograph. I'm just getting a little bit quiet here. Let's mix that up a little bit there. That's not too bad. This is all going to have gray tones in it afterward. That's the idea anyway. Let's get some wrinkles in here. I'll wind up thickening these lines a bit afterward, I think. Probably. Let's get down to this nose. So if my light is coming in from both sides, this area here, as well as over here, it's not going to be like super bright, but it's not going to be as dark as everything else either, because it's going to pick up some light, maybe even on the tip of the nose. I think I'll work down here actually. I'll worry about that nose afterward. Let's fill in this face line. Let's use the thick one for that. This pen is doing very well. Yeah, see? This one you can go somewhat thicker with. Not that I necessarily want thick lines all the time, but right here I kind of do. Oh, I should do those lips, shouldn't I? With the other pen, I think. And then I'm going to want maybe some shadow under here as well. Get a little bit of it with the thick pen. Not all of it, but a bit of it. Get the darker parts with this pen. Oh yeah, that's a good line. I like that. That could be darker there. Yeah, we're getting somewhere. Okay. I think I'll go down to this chin actually. I want to get this done tonight. Really don't want to be working on this same drawing tomorrow. I like to finish it all up. Let's see. How about we go under this eye, or under this eyebrow. We fill in some of this black that's supposed to be here. Maybe not totally black though. Maybe, yeah, leave some light. Okay. That's pretty good. And then can have the slightest shadow into that bump. Then we're going to change direction. Just go straight down. Some people will tell you that you shouldn't be changing the direction of your pen all the time. I think I disagree. I think so long as you are creating interesting lines, you can change that pen direction as much as you damn well please. And I've seen the reverse to be quite awful, actually. Like, there are some people that will draw with one directional lines and it'll be amazing throughout the whole drawing. And then there's people that don't. Excuse me, sorry. I think I had intended to watch something this evening, and then I will do that later, I guess. Not a big deal. That's not drying out, is it? There we go. On these pens, you sometimes just have to press a little bit more, that's all. Because the ink's got to come out of that cartridge. Guess I could just do this faster. This is all the quick part anyway. Yeah, I like that. Let's do that little eyelash thing. It's still good. Just used to it coming out super easy, that's all. Like that. We're gonna fill in, I think, a little bit more, because this looks very jarring right there. There, that's a bit better. And of course there's got to be more shadow under here. It's got to sort of contrast against the other lines. Let's put in some of these crow's feet right now. Even if I don't necessarily have the other stuff done, I like it to sort of match on both sides as I'm doing it. Yeah. What else? I got all this in here. I should probably do some shadow on this nose now. So the way I did it there actually isn't too bad. Kind of want to change this a bit. Just sort of do this. Got another line coming out that way. Just super straight across the whole bridge of that nose, all the way down to about there. And I'll mess around with that after too. And then I'm going to actually change that up there. Make that nose a little bit wider than it is, just with the slightest line. And of course, there's going to be more shadow in there. You still see this, the edge of the sides of this nose are not going to be like totally white or anything. It's just that they're not going to be as dark as everything else. So I've got a little bit of shadow, perhaps, that I want to put in here, a little bit darker. That's okay. That's not too bad. I'm going to go under here. I might lose a lot of these lines afterward when I'm darkening it all up anyway, but I like to have the lines in place, at least. Am I doing something wrong here? Let's do this. Yeah, I like that. Not bad. Let's actually fill this in now. I think so, yeah. Come on, don't dry out on me now. It's not bad. Go right up to about the tip of the nose there. And then I'm going to have some more light lines coming down. What is up with this pen today? This might not work out, actually. This might look like crap. But I'm going to find out. How do I feel about that? I feel like this needs to be... This pen is pissing me off. There we go. Leaking all over the place now. Didn't get any on me though. I feel like I want this to be somewhat darker. Maybe a bit wider. Then it narrows down here. Then also I'm going to have a little bit more shadow up here. And that can narrow a bit there, I think. How's that? We're getting somewhere. Where that is, I don't know. Maybe I should fill in the shadow over here too then. Just so it looks semi-normal. Yeah. Just do it. I like to keep a specific line for any plane, but there's so many planes on the face that it can be a little bit difficult to remember. They try to tell you there's like 20 planes on the face. No. There's far more than that. Just this space between the eyelashes and the bottom eyelashes and the eye. That's a plane unto itself. There's a lot there. There, that looks pretty good. Sometimes I mix it up even when it is the same plane, but it usually winds up looking weird. So you've actually got a couple different planes on the bag of this eye. Let's just sort of change this angle a bit. And then I don't necessarily even need to do a different angle here. I just need to do different lines. So like these are clearly all drawn at the same time. And then if I do these ones at even just the same angle, it's obvious that they're drawn differently. Just because there's that slight space there, it looks alright. Got a little bit of a plane there. There we go. Now, I've got all these lines. I think I used the thin pen for this. That's why they're not as dark as I perhaps need them to be. That works a bit better. And I just picked up more ink on my damn hand. I'm being very messy today. I don't think it's going to matter. So, that right there, and this here too actually, is sort of a plane. And then I've got another plane right about like that. And it actually intersects with this one somewhat. And then I'm switching it up here, which might be a bit harsh actually. So we're going to do that. It's called covering your mistakes. Nothing wrong with that. Just don't let people know, like I just did. Okay, that's pretty good there. And then this could be thicker. Should use the thick pen for that, but whatever. There's some good shadow there. Could actually have a little bit of shadow coming off the outer edge of this. Yeah, I kind of like that. And then we're going to have this kind of shadow all up in here and in there. Let's, I think, work on these lips. We've got some pretty good lines here. I really like that, actually. Do, 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 do. I think the headphones off. That's part of what's knocking it. Well, you know, I said this was going to be a lot faster when I was inking it. I guess I was full of it. I guess I didn't realize how much black I wanted to put down on here. Let's fill this in too with the other pen actually. It doesn't help that I'm also sort of jumping around. There we go. That's pretty good. And then actually should probably have some lines down in here. It's generally what you would have. Let's fill in this spot here. And then we're going to get the deep shadows under the nose. And I did say those were going to be there. So that should not be coming as a surprise to anyone. What will be down here is more of this, so it should ultimately work out pretty well. Right now it looks a little bit much. I promise to not do too many of these videos where I'm talking the whole time about stuff nobody cares about. I think I'll just do time-lapse videos, because this is going to be... How long is this video going to be? So long. If people aren't watching this at double speed, I don't know what to say. Triple even. Yeah, it's doing okay. Let's work on these lips actually. I know, I bumped it again. Gonna have to fix that. Stop bumping that damn camera. None of these lines need to be perfect. What it comes down to ultimately is a single line does not need to be perfect, so long as they work in relative harmony with the rest of the lines. I think I was saying earlier, some people obsess over every little detail, and they lose their way. That's pretty good. Let's also do some lines going up there. Yeah, I like that. Alright, so we're also going to have something of a line there. Probably use the big pen for that. Let's do the chin. What's going on with this now? Do 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 do. Now, if I were if this were some specific character and he had to have a very specific look, then even then the shadow lines that you put down don't really matter all that much. It's the form lines, like the shape of the nose, the eyes, the bags under the eyes, if there are any, the lips, the ears, the chin, all that would need to be pinpoint perfect. But that's not so hard. That's just form. You get that when you're sort of forming the face in the original drawing. Come on, give me some ink here. And then these other lines are just all about how much shadow do I want here or there. And if you know exactly what this person looks like, if you have a defined look for a character, then you'll probably already be able to figure out where all the shadows should be. Just slightly change the angle of this line. Alright. Up here we're going to have a little bit of darkness in here, I think. Not a lot. It's not too bad. I guess I'll draw that collar in there. Is this the collar? Is that it? I think the collar is here, actually. Yeah. The rest of that is just all neck. Okay, so gonna have a bunch of shadow over here too. You notice I'm using a lot of left to right strokes. It's not just because I'm right-handed. It's also because that's sort of how I started doing it. And when I did that, I sort of flipped it upside down. But now that I'm making these strokes in this direction, it just sort of behooves me to do the same over here. Am I running low on ink here? What's going on? Kind of. What is the deal, guys? Was this not full? Oh, maybe this wasn't full. Oh yeah, it's the other one I put the cartridge in. It might not have been full. I haven't really inked anything for a little while. There we go. Where was I? Just this shadow, right? So we're gonna finish up this line on his face. And of course you get some more shadow in here. Okay. I guess you can call that cross-hatching. I mean, there's nothing wrong with cross-hatching. It's just that sometimes it doesn't quite look right. Cross-hatching is all well and good if you make it look really good. It's not something I do that often. Like, I did it a bit here, you know, you see me do it in other spots, like for a moment up here. It's never really been my thing. Maybe eventually I'll do it a lot, but I just haven't, I guess. I do sort of change the direction of my line a little bit sometimes, so I guess you could sort of say that's cross-hatching in a way, but not really. You want to see somebody who does amazing cross-hatching. There's any number of artists that do. Barry Smith probably, I think, is a really good example. Although he doesn't just cross-hatch, he does so much more. Yeah, I'm going to have a shadow under here, right? So that's more or less going to define the underside of this jowl, but I'm going to draw it in anyway. Yeah, it's not too bad. Let's fill in, you know what, let's do a little bit more of the shadow. I think I'm probably going to wind up on the hair last. So, okay, so this is going to be a thinner line anyway. Notice I change the angle once in a while, but not to an extreme degree. Not there anyway. And then over here I'm going to do sort of the opposite, really. Although the longer that line goes, the less good I am at doing it quickly. Just because my hand has only so much range to it. See, that's not bad. That's pretty good, actually. I'm going to put a little bit of line in here. Right there. This is the underside of this, so I'm going to put in some lines down here. There would be shadow there, although probably a little bit more. See, here's some cross-hatching for you. A bit more right there, and then get a bit more of a line there. Then this actually should probably meet up. Maybe with this pen. What in the shit? This pen pisses me off. There you go. I'm going to get every last drop of ink out of that thing before I get a new cartridge in there and screw it. Okay, and then switch back, and I think I'm going to do it from about here, and then switch it to another angle right there, and again here. Then we're going to switch there. That's pretty good. It's alright. And I'm actually going to add a little bit more out here. That's not perfect either, but whatever. Kind of want to put some shadow up on here, on the underside of that nose, and then have it meet this a little bit. Yeah. So, I'm going to come up here and do this now, I think. Well, actually I can't turn it that much. I need to be able to keep an eye on what I'm doing. Some people can draw upside down. I don't understand. Well, I don't understand how you do that, but also I don't understand why you would do that. I'm like, what the fuck? Why are you doing that? It's weird. Some weird shit. A little bit of a shadow going there. And then we got another line there. Just put the lines in here. Real quick. Bada bing, bada boom. Got maybe a bit of a line there too. Just going to try to do this without touching the paper too much and smudging it. This part winds up getting darkened later anyway, so I'm not too worried about it. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. I need some shadow in under this eye, under the eyebrow rather. And then it's actually going to continue but change angle somewhat. And then it's going to go back up. What is this on my pen? Yeah, that's pretty good. Let's deepen this, darken that a bit. Yeah, that's good. Now, this needs to perhaps grow out of that. Yeah, that's pretty good. We'll do a similar line down here. There's 2 levels to this eye bag. I don't know if there's another word for it other than bags under your eyes, but that's what I call it anyway. Then I've got shadow that's going to come in here. Still need to fill that in. Let's do the dark shadow first though. So let's actually let it grow up from the jowl. Maybe I should use different pens. These are starting to piss me off today. But I do like the look that these pens give once it's all done. Okay. Some people do this with brushes. And to me, I just am like, oh my god. Imagine having to dip your damn brush every minute or so. You'd go insane. Just darken that a little bit more. The front of the face is going to be so dark that it's almost going to look like he's like a ghost or something. Maybe it's going to be too much, I don't know. We'll find out when it's done. Do-do. Somewhere beyond the sea, somewhere waiting for me. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Yeah, I like that. Fill in this shadow here. So let's do that. Yeah, this way. Like that. Then this is going to be thicker here. Since I've already got this pen, we'll use this one. It's going to be darker. Yeah. And then I think maybe that there. And a bit more gray in here. Yeah, I'm liking that. I want to darken these lips a bit. Kind of forgot about that. Almost completely. Sorry, I don't mean to take it off the camera all the time. It's just bad habit. And maybe this gets darkened as well. I want to be careful about smudging this. It's got ink all over it. Yeah, that's a bit better. Maybe darken this as well. Yeah. Oh, we're getting there. We'll get done by the night. Somewhere beyond the sea. I don't even know the words. Do 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 do. Ding do 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 do. Watching the ships roll in. This is all. Did I hit that camera again? Do not piss me off. Let's darken that a bit. I think there needs to be a couple different lines there. No, one is fine. Get that a bit darker in there, right? Switch that up. And then we've got this here, that changes. How's that look? Yeah, that's working. If you ever get too close to the work, like you're looking at tiny little details too long, you can lose track of what the overall piece of art is meant to look like. So you gotta not necessarily take a few feet back, but take a step back from what you're doing in that moment and then just take a bigger look at it. I think I'm switching this up a little bit in the other direction, actually. And here I'm going to go all the way across. There we go. Yep. One more of those, I think. That needs to be darkened a bit. Right in there. Probably up here too. Oh, I used the thin one for this, didn't I? That's why. Gotta realize where the wrinkle is there, so it's probably sloping ever so slightly down. So you gotta leave a slight space for it there. I'm dreading getting into that goddamn hair, honestly. Ugh. Unless I just make it quite light, in which case that could really work, I think. I'm going to switch it up to the other side now. But go a little slower. See, and even at that speed I'm screwing it up. Is that okay? I'm not loving it, but whatever. This should also actually just sort of grow out from this shadow. Get some thinner lines and then want a thick line in there. Some people can probably do this faster. Some people can do it with less lines. This is how I do it, for now. Okay, so the main face is done. Hair, ear, jaw, neck, the stupid shit, who cares? Hair. Let's switch now to the thick pen for this shadow. I think this is the last year I'm going to do these Inktober drawings. I think this month I'll have finally really worked out the last of the weird little problems that I had with it. With the inks, I mean. Okay, so let's say, because we know that the light is coming in from both sides, so really the darkness should really only be at the very front of this hair and maybe underneath. Where's my ink? Come on. There it is. Son of a bitch. There you go. And then maybe some darkness under there. And probably a little bit over here. And the rest will probably be slightly light, like over here. I think that's reasonable. I'm going to do some, oh, that's a good idea, Stephen. Let's, I'm not smudging anything, am I? It's a relatively small piece of paper, so it's not like I'm going to get my whole arm across it. Let's get this somewhat darker over here. Come on. Not bad. And then we'll have a little bit of fun with this hairline here. I didn't even draw it really before. Well, I guess I could work on his ear, couldn't I? Whatever. Do it later. And then as the hair goes down, the shadow on the hair sort of follows this hairline. That's pretty easy. Let's draw some of this ear. And then maybe this part here, like that. I'll do the rest with the other pen. And then we'll get some other dark spots in here. Because hair has about 10,000 planes in it. Not really. You can fake it. Yeah, I think that's about as much shadow as you need up top. Maybe it looks a little bit like Dr. House. Sort of. You can sort of see that. No, not really. I mean, only in the most vague sense. Alright, so let's fill this in real quick. That should be easy. That's just the hair itself. Actually, let's just do the whole thing. It's easier from over here. afterward and work it a little bit more. Trying to have a light touch with this, but these pens are being a little bit of a pain today, and they're not letting all the ink out without me pressing hard on it. It's kind of annoying. Do some of the little hairs over here, right? And then I think what I'd like to eventually do, instead of doing like this ridiculously long video, because I think this is 2.5 hours at this point. That's mental. I think it'd probably be better to just stream live or something. And people can watch it afterward, but they don't have to necessarily sit through a frickin' 2+ hour video. If they don't want to, they just pop in and then pop out. But at the same time, I don't know that many people are going to be around to watch a live stream, because I see some of these guys doing these live streams and it's like there's 5 people watching. Like, why bother? That's not bad for now, for the hair. For now. The ears, I have a little bit of a shadow on the very front there. Do 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 do. What is that song? Why is that song in my head today? Is it Sinatra? Oh, car alarm going off. Yeah, we really want your shit car. Gotta have a little bit of a shadow there. This line, it shouldn't really be there, but it kind of works. So I'll just do it thin. Yeah. And of course we're going to have some shadow here, because the light's coming from both sides and slightly behind. That kind of works, and then I'll have a bit of a shadow here, I think. Something else right there. Yeah, that kind of works. Switch to the thick pen for this neck. This could be done in 20 minutes. maybe do this color. Unless I get obsessed with one little part of it. Interesting part about this next spot here is that there is a little bit of a jaw there, but because he's an older guy, we've also got these, I don't know what you would call them. It's not on the side. In the front it's turkey neck, but out on the side it's more just hanging skin. Don't really know what the biological term for that would be. Okay. Also got this here. That should all be in shadow. Switch this up again. Maybe do this from the side, actually. It's just a bit easier that way. Somewhere beyond the sea. Getting there. Oh, am I not on camera? There. Let's get on camera. We're just working the bottom of this now. Have some more beer. Done. That's done. This drawing isn't. Okay. Let's really get in there. Ah, shit. Jesus Christ. Oh, whatever. It's all on the outer part of the drawing anyway. Don't really give a shit that much. Maybe I should. I need to practice being more careful. Just kind of wish this ink would dry faster. Maybe that's why I ought to do it like this. I don't know, because then I can't really see what I'm seeing. this cast shadow across there. This should all be black. Real black in there, real dark in here. I feel like the ink on this pen is going to run out any minute. I'm going to wind up switching out this cartridge anyway. It's alright. Get in there. Get that all black in there. I think I'm going to put a bit more of a black line here and fill this area in as well. How's that look? Yeah, that's better. Much closer anyway. Watching the ships roll in. What was that? It's not too bad. Nearly there. See, I smudged ink in certain spots, but it's not that big of a deal, really. Suppose there should be a shadow on this collar, though. Yeah, probably. And on the interior of this collar. Let's fill in this first. I'm tired. And I think I want to put a little bit of shadow. Let's find a spot where I'm not touching the damn ink. Put a little bit of shadow over here. Yeah. Like that. Okay. I don't want to smudge anything, so I'm going to do it right about here. That's okay. That's okay. Not bad. Then, admittedly, I'm spending a little less time on this part just because I don't really give a shit. Alright, so that's sort of shadowed in there. We'll get this thick pen again. Go in. Like that. Make sure that's okay. Let's real quickly thicken this up so that's obvious. Yeah, that's better. Now we just have the shadows under the collar, which I could just leave out, but I won't, because I'm stupid. Do 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 do. I could almost use a brush for this part, really. But that would mean cleaning the brush afterward. Just for this. Not really worth it. Holy shit, I hate this pen today. Both of these pens are being a pain in the ass. I'm nearly done.